When Nisarga Adhikari found critical security flaws in CBSE's Class 12 board exam portal, CBSE publicly denied it. And so, the 19-year-old broke back in, filmed himself doing it, and just to prove his point, left memes and anime videos running on the board's own servers. Since then, he has filed about 30 more vulnerability reports with Certain, which is India's cybersecurity agency. The complaints cover public sector banks, several government bodies, a cafe chain, and two dating apps. He told my colleague Mutasim Khan that most of those reports are still unpatched or ignored. He said that the sheer incompetence of our authorities baffles him. He claims that this is the kind of stuff that, if left to him, he could fix in just a matter of hours. And turns out, he is not the only one finding these gaps. In May, the Ken reported that Indian enterprises were being left dangerously exposed in a post LLM world. Within weeks, attackers had leaked classified Apple Tesla schematics from Tata Electronics, exposed blueprints tied to India's largest nuclear plant, and breached hospitals, power grids, telecom firms, and even e rickshaws. Meanwhile, in June, the RBI asked India's biggest banks what worried them most. And at the top of the list was AI powered cyber attacks. This has resulted in the government finally looking for talent in places it has ignored for a long time. In fact, right after the CBSE breach, IIT Kanpur hired Adhikari as a threat intelligence engineer. That same week, the institute launched a first of its kind undergraduate cybersecurity program, one that recruits hackers through hackathons instead of just JEE advanced scores, and actually sends students to work at government security organizations for 2 out of the 4 year program. But like many of India's best cybersecurity researchers, Adhikari is already weighing offers from California. And his story actually captures India's cybersecurity paradox. The country trains more young ethical hackers than anywhere else in the world, but is still short of nearly a million cybersecurity professionals. The RBI, the Home Ministry's cybercrime unit, and Certain are all hiring to close that gap. But many of these roles are contractual with no path to a permanent job, which means against Silicon Valley and global capability centers, India isn't struggling to find talent. It's struggling to give that talent a reason to stay. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from The Ken. I'm your host, Rachel Verghese, and every day of the week, my co-host Smita Sharma and I will bring you one news story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Monday, the 24th of August. Cyber warriors of the future. That's how Manindra Agrawal, the director at IIT Kanpur, described the institute's new Bachelor of Cybersecurity program at its June launch. He said that future wars will be fought as much online as on the ground. That language is pretty much the same as the government's. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has long called cyber attacks a bloodless war and has pushed for cyber commandos. And as cyber attacks grow more frequent and more sophisticated, the government is looking beyond the conventional engineering pipelines for talent. That's the idea that the Bachelor in Cybersecurity program is built around. But the degree is unlike any other IIT undergraduate degree because no other course mandates work experience as an actual part of its requirements. A former consultant who has worked on government cybersecurity audits told Mutasim that the course might work like a direct pipeline into government institutions. And along with the IIT prestige, it also gives cybersecurity a kind of nationalist identity. The consultant also believes that it is just a matter of time before other IITs and engineering institutes follow the same path. In fact, IIT Madras is already set to launch the same program from the academic year of 2026 to 2027. The thing is, the talent pool is already there. It's large and untapped. And our research shows that Indians consistently make up the largest share of submissions on global bug bounty platforms, where companies pay independent researchers to find security flaws. For instance, Indians make up roughly a quarter of all researchers on a popular website called HackerOne. But the bounties themselves come almost entirely from foreign companies. Only a handful of Indian firms run them, which leaves India's ethical hackers to earn millions protecting global tech giants while remaining largely ignored at home. This situation is what is leaving the government in a bind right now. The consultant said that on one hand, the government runs the most systematically important infrastructure accessed by hundreds of millions. Think about it. Railways, telecom, payments, Aadhaar are all digitized and online. On the other hand, though, the government has to compete with GCCs or global capability centers for the same talent that keeps these platforms safe. Now, the competition itself isn't really new. Clearly, the system that exists has been around for a while. But what is new is the rising cost of coming second in this competition because attacks are just growing more frequent. And actually, even if by some miracle the hiring does happen, retention of that talent is even harder. Because apparently, India's cybersecurity job market has long been what one recent paper calls structurally distorted. More on this in the next segment. The distortion goes back to more than a decade ago. As American companies built GCCs across India, cybersecurity followed the same path as customer support and finance. A junior compliance analyst who costs a US employer $60,000 to $85,000 a year costs roughly $5,000 to $10,000 in India, which means the company gets the same work for a fraction of that price. And the employee still earns more than what they would at an Indian firm. Everyone wins except the domestic industry. And the scale itself is striking. A PwC report says that about a third of global organizations now have more than half their cybersecurity teams based in India. Mutasim spoke to Kaustubh Medhe, the chief product officer at an intelligence firm called Cybel, which has more than 650 global clients. He said that it is mostly the MNCs and GCCs who end up cornering the bulk of the good candidates. One reason, of course, is pay. The other, Medhe said, is that the industry has stopped training freshers. He blames cost cutting and operational pressure, pointing towards how most job openings in the field now demand 3 to 5 years of experience. How could a fresher ever get a job if that is the base threshold? What's missing, he said, is apprenticeship. And that is exactly what the government is trying to set up now. For example, in June, the RBI advertised 12 young professional roles in cybersecurity, AI, quantum tech, and climate risk, paying around 18 lakh rupees a year. That's a salary that is actually competitive with a mid level GCC analyst in Bangalore. But there's a catch. These jobs are contractual, only 3 years long, extendable to five, and with no benefits provided beyond the stipend itself. Now, by Medhe's estimate, it takes at least 2 years for a fresher to actually become productive. If we go with that math, the RBI gets only one productive year out of each young professional, who then leaves with no other next step to climb in the organization's ladder. The same pattern is also repeating in other places. Take the Home Ministry's Cybercrime Center, which has 195 openings paying up to 2.5 lakh rupees a month. These are also 3 year contracts. And where the government does offer permanent jobs, it pays far less. For example, certain Scientist B posts, which are based on GATE or Graduate Aptitude Test and Engineering scores, pay 11 to 12 lakh rupees a year, which is about a third of typical GCC pay. So it seems like right now, the state can only offer two options: competitive pay or a long term career, not both. But at least it's actually taking the problem more seriously now. Stay tuned. When Sandeep Shukla returned to India, he had finished over a decade of teaching computer engineering at Virginia Tech. At the time, he used a government grant to set up IIT Kanpur's C3I Center, which is India's first academic center for the cybersecurity of critical infrastructure. A decade later, he now directs IIT Hyderabad and sits on cybersecurity committees at the RBI, NPCI, SEBI, and other important regulators. He told the Ken that the government is taking the AI cybersecurity threat quite seriously. There are cross ministry consultations, a war room for reporting major incidents within 6 hours, and from the RBI, a shift in what it is asking banks to build for resilience rather than prevention alone. But the bigger shift, he said, is happening inside the institutions themselves. Until recently, Indian banks would outsource most of their cybersecurity work to consultancies, usually one of the big four: Deloitte, KPMG, EY, or PwC. That was partly because the same talent shortage that pushed everyone into GCCs made it cheaper to buy the capability than build it. But that model had its own problem. What a recent paper by Venkata Gutula, an independent cybersecurity consultant, calls title inflation. Let me explain what that is. You see, US clients wanted senior level expertise offshore but only wanted to pay the cheap offshore rates. So, Indian consultancies, to work out those thin margins, filled senior titles with juniors instead. People only 2 or 3 years into their careers doing work that once needed a decade of experience. The paper argues that title inflation did two things at once. One, it kept the workers from leaving despite the low pay, and two, let the firms bill senior rates for junior work. It's basically a zero cost retention strategy. The difference even shows up in the job listings. For example, a senior manager GRC role asks for 8 to 12 years of experience in the US. In India, on the other hand, the same title often appears at 2 to 5 years. Of course, this shapes what audits can catch or miss. In fact, last March, regulators flagged Deloitte's Indian arm for insufficient evaluation of the competence, capability, objectivity, and work of the auditor's expert that the firm relied on. Also, two of India's biggest recent finance failures, which is UCO Bank's 820 crore rupees immediate payment service glitch in 2023 and Star Health's leak of 31 million records the next year, were both traced to lapses in IT audits. Shukla, who I mentioned earlier, explained that banks have drawn their own conclusions from this. The ones he has talked to, like HDFC, Kotak, used to have 20 internal and 80 external employees. Now, he said, they are trying to flip that. The irony is that banks have learned what the state hasn't: that cybersecurity is no longer a project to staff, but a capability to own. And India is fighting an ongoing threat with an employment model designed for temporary work.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription offers daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Rachel Varghese and edited by Rajiv Sien.